Hi there, and welcome to our weekly yoga and meditation gathering online. My name is Amy Armistead, and I have the best job in the world. I get to lead a bold, inclusive, innovative new faith community called The Gathering Place. You're probably watching this on our page, so that's who we are. And every week we gather online to do a yoga practice or a new meditation practice. We've experimented with some ancient forms of prayer, like in scripture reading, like Lectio Divina or Examen, all with the purpose of trying to encounter God and encounter others in different and new ways. So tonight I am so excited to welcome Reverend Sarah Jones, who is both a pastor and a yoga instructor, which is life goals. She is phenomenal, and she is going to be leading us in a quick 20-minute yoga practice focusing specifically on stretching. So not only are we stretching our bodies, we are stretching our faith. So when I hear that word stretching, I think about stretching out of my comfort zone. So there are a couple safe spaces that exist in my life. My house, my room is one of them. If you're like me, you get like a nice cozy candle, put on some nice music, surrounded by plants and all these things that are just gonna make me calm and at peace. And especially in this last year of the pandemic, making my house a really welcoming and inviting and cozy space has been really important because we've been spending so much time at home. But I heard of a new phrase, getting out of just safe spaces and into brave spaces. And bravery requires us to get out of our comfort zone, to embrace change or difference, or maybe something we've never done before. And there's so many examples of this in the Christian faith. I think of when the disciples were in a boat with Jesus, and Jesus encouraged Peter to step out into faith and walk on water, which is this like crazy story where Peter's like, this is impossible, there's no way this is gonna happen. And Jesus says, trust me. And he steps out of the boat and into the water. And the moment that he begins to have that like doubt, he crashes back in the water. All over, there are examples of folks having to stretch and get out of their comfort zone and into new territory, which is hard to do. So I encourage you to find both of those places. So maybe safe areas like your house, or maybe surrounded by a table of people who love you and who you trust, but also venture into brave spaces as well, where you know you might be challenged, where you know you might have to try something out of your comfort zone and something new. So this might be one of those tonight. Maybe you've never done yoga before. The great thing about Sarah is that she teaches beginners yoga. So this is very friendly to yogis at all levels. If this is your first time doing yoga, don't worry, this is very adaptable. And of course, do what you're comfortable with. If your body is a little achy and you're doing a stretch that just is more painful than it is relief, then find some sort of alteration. Do something, adapt your practice, and respond to your body's needs as well. But if this is something you're doing for the first time, this is a brave space, and we are so excited that you are stretching yourself. You are stretching literally and figuratively out of your comfort zone. So welcome. Don't forget to sign in the Connect form, which is, if you're watching on Facebook or at firstunited.org or on YouTube, it is connected to this video. We want to know that you have joined us. It's also a way to get a little bit more information about the Gathering Place. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter, or maybe sign up to have a chat with me over coffee or Zoom if you're not local. And we're just so happy you're here. So thanks for stretching out of your comfort zone tonight. Have a great practice.
We're going to begin in constructive rest pose. So I invite you to lie on your back with your knees bent, feet wider than your hips, and toes pointed slightly inward. This will help rotate your inner thighs inward. And let your knees rest against each other, kind of like you're knock-kneed. And cross your arms over your chest, fingertips resting on your outer shoulders. And allow your elbows to drop down. With each exhalation, surrender a little more to the pull of gravity and the support of the ground. We'll stay here for about 5 breaths. Now release your arms and then recross your arms over your chest with your opposite elbow on top. And again, we will just breathe. From here, we'll stretch our arms out to a T with our palms facing up. Lengthen from your sternum out through your elbows and your wrists and your fingers like you're pulling your arms away from your chest. And then relax your arms, feeling their weight against the floor. Keeping your feet wider than your hips, slowly drop your knees to the right. Come back to center and drop them to the left. Take it slowly a couple of times, and then when you're ready, maybe speed it up a little. Do some windshield wipers. This helps relieve tension in our hips and thighs and release some of the tightness in our lower back. And after flowing back and forth a few times, let your knees stay to the right and slightly scoop your tailbone under. You might feel this as a stretch across the left outer hip and the front of the left thigh. And to deepen this sensation, you can place your right ankle on top of the lower left thigh. So kind of picking up your ankle and crossing it over your knee. Try not to push your left knee down to the floor. Instead, just let the natural weight apply a little bit of pressure and help you get a stretch as you imagine lengthening through your left leg bone toward the right corner of your mat. Reach your tailbone in the same direction. And stay here for maybe 3 breaths. And return to our constructive rest pose with your knees bent and knees knocked. And this time, let your knees fall to the other side. Feeling the stretch on the right side of your body now. And if you did this on your other side, maybe cross your ankle over your knee again. See if it feels different on this side. And again, we'll just breathe. When you're ready, come back to center. Place your arms at your sides and lift your feet off the ground until your knees are directly over your hips. So your thighs should be vertical and your shins should be horizontal, sort of like a upside down tabletop position. In this pose, the goal is to engage the deepest layer of your abdominal muscles in order to stabilize a neutral spine, where there's just a little bit of space between the lower back and the ground, but not an excessive arch. This is in response to the weight of our legs. The action of pulling your front hip points toward the navel might be helpful. Take maybe 5 breaths here. If you find that holding this position is a little bit too much today, or if you have any discomfort in your lower back, try bringing your knees a little closer to your chest while still leaving the back of your pelvis on the mat and maintaining a slight lift into the lumbar spine. This can help alleviate some of that intense pressure in the low back. Lower your feet to the mat and make sure they are parallel with your heels under your knees. Now we are headed into bridge, so press your feet and lift your hips. Take 5 good breaths here. Don't worry about bringing your hips up super high. The purpose of the pose is simply to open the front of the body and stretch the back body to maintain the integrity of the alignment without stress. So draw your inner thighs down and reach your tailbone towards your knees, and then roll down one vertebrae at a time. And make your way to all fours, where we'll stack our wrists under our shoulders and our knees under our hips. Because we're going to be in this position for a while, you might want to grab a blanket or some sort of padding to put under your knees. If you have a yoga mat, if you're working on a yoga mat, you can fold the end up so that it'll double the cushion under your knees. And from here, we're just going to take some cat and cow. Flowing through cat and cow, try sliding the torso a little bit forward on your cow and a little bit back on your cat. Breathing in and lifting your chest, exhaling and arching your back. Feel free to play around with this little mini vinyasa, adding any extra movements that feel good to help loosen any areas of tightness or any place where you're holding tension in your back or your shoulders. Maybe looking over your shoulders from side to side or making circles with your hips. Come back to center. Keeping your hips stacked over your knees, walk your hands forward until you can lower your forehead to the mat. And if you don't make it to the mat, that's totally fine. If you have a block or a blanket, whatever feels comfortable, just make sure you have something to support your forehead. And keeping your arms straight. When you find comfort in this position, I want you to come onto your fingertips to tent your hands and almost like intimidation cobra. You're going to lift your forearms and you're lengthening all the way from your tailbone to the base of your skull. So you should have a nice long line down your spine. Take 5 good breaths in this active version of puppy pose. And then come back to all fours and step your right foot between your hands. Bring your hands to the top of your right thigh, just above your knee, and lift your torso, lifting your chest all the way up tall, pressing away from your knee ever so slightly. Pressing your right foot into the ground, bringing your hips square, so that might look like pulling your left hip forward and pulling your right hip back. Inch your right foot a little bit forward as you slide your hip bones forward, coming into a low lunge. Now, you might be tempted to take a nice, powerful back bend here and arch your back, but for this practice today, just by carefully maintaining an upright torso, you can focus the work more on the deep hip flexors of the back leg. These muscles can be very tight, especially if you're like me and you spend a lot of time sitting. If you'd like to add a little bit of additional spinal extension, see if you can let it express itself as a lift in the upper back and an opening of the shoulders, almost like you're smiling with your clavicles. So there should not be any compression in your low back. You are lifting with your upper back and opening your shoulders. And this might feel intense, so move carefully and pay attention to your breathing. Come back to the slow, deep breathing. Staying here for a few more breaths. And then bring your hands to your hips. Pull your hip bones back over the left knee and extend your right leg. Open it to the side with your toes and knee pointing forward. The right heel should be either in line with the left knee or slightly in front of it, depending on how open your hips are. Adjust the leg position so that you can maintain a square and level hips. As you inhale, raise your left arm and paying attention to your whole side body, feeling the lengthening as you exhale and bend sideways over the right leg for gate pose. Just notice if you're dropping into your low back. What would you need to do to maintain more clarity in this side bend? Support in the low abdominal area may help. Reaching back, grabbing your calf or your thigh, taking the challenge and finding the edge. When you're ready, release and take a child's pose. This is a chance to catch our breath and to realign our spine and to get centered again. And now we come back to all fours. Checking once again, making sure you are in alignment. Hips are over your knees, your shoulders are over your elbows, and your elbows are over your wrist. Walk your hands forward, taking another puppy pose, tenting your fingers, pulling up your forearms, really engaging in this active version of puppy pose. You try to have this nice long line, long extension from your tailbone to the base of your skull. And then coming back to all fours, step your left foot between your hands this time. As you lift your torso up, you can bring your hands to the top of your left thigh. Press your left foot into the ground and square up your hips again. From here, you're going to bring your left foot a little bit forward as you slide your hips forward and you come back into a low lunge. Again, we are not reaching up and back. We are keeping a straight and upright torso so that our focus can be in the backs of our thighs. Noticing if your hamstrings are tight, noticing if you feel a stretch and where you feel a stretch. If you want to add the little bit of extra spinal extension, see if you can challenge yourself to lift up with your upper back and open your shoulders once again. Paying attention so that there is no compression in your low back. It should almost feel like you are lifting up through the crown of your head. There's a string along your spine and you could pull it all the way up. Paying attention again to our breath. Noticing where it is in our body. Noticing how we are feeling in this position. Is this side different than the other side? Bring your hands to your hips and then draw your hips back over the right knee. Extend your left leg and open it to the side with your toes and knee pointing forward. Your left heel, once again, should either be lined up with your right knee or maybe just a little bit in front of it, depending on how open your hips are. Make any adjustments so that you can keep your hips square and level. And then on your next inhale, raise your right arm, taking a nice big stretch up and over, and just noticing how it feels on this side. Taking a couple of breaths here. When you are ready, return to child's pose. Get realigned, recentered. Catch your breath and rest. Now we will make our way all the way up, standing for mountain pose. Mountain pose in this practice consists of simply standing with awareness. Close your eyes and feel the weight of your body travel through your bones and into the foundation of your feet. Stand tall, your muscles lightly engaged and your senses soft. Take 5 conscious breaths here. Open your eyes and shift your weight into your right leg. Place the sole of your left foot on your inner right shin and bring your palms together with your thumbs touching at your heart. Find a spot in front of you that's not moving and fix your gaze softly and steadily, holding tree pose for 5 breaths. And then release, shifting your weight into the left leg, bringing the sole of your right foot to your inner left shin, keeping your gaze steady ahead of you, and breathing again. We often are more balanced on one side than the other. Did you notice that you were steadier on your right foot or your left foot? And release. Make your way down to the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees drop away from each other. If it feels comfortable, you might find that you would like to bring your blocks under your thighs for support, or blankets that are folded up, or even a pillow on each side. This can be a very relaxing and restorative position. When you're ready, lie back. Notice if your chin is either lifting way up or if it's collapsing into your chest. You want it to be somewhere in the middle, with your forehead and chin more or less on the same plane. This will help to not close off our throat so that we are able to breathe freely and to release tension in the back of our neck. This is a reclining bound angle pose, and it will be your final resting pose. Close your eyes and reconnect with your breath. First, see if you can match the length of your exhalation to the length of your inhalation. And then take a few rounds, lengthening the exhalation. So sometimes I will count this out to myself. I'll inhale for a count of 4, hold, and then exhale for a count of 6 or 7. Until eventually you can release any control of your breathing and just rest. This time is for you to be at peace, to be held, to be safe. This is your Shavasana. Gently bring some awareness to your limbs. Maybe roll over to your right side. Make your way all the way up to a seated position. Take a couple of conscious breaths. Right here, right now. Take a moment to savor the effects of your practice. Well done.